Natural features. So again, what did that doesn't mean the buildings that we build, right? Right? Because those are not natural features, right? That's the rivers, oceans, lakes, all that stuff. That's all natural. The trees, all the mountains, all that is our natural stuff, not buildings that we put up. Okay? What was a community? Ezekiel, what is a community? What's the definition of a community?
Is a place with people, a community is an organization of people all working together.
Place where people live, work, and do what, Mari? They live, work, and play. Have fun. Okay? So, that's a community. What was business? Colton? What was our definition of business?
Stuff.
Fun friend. John?
It's like an activity that people do to make things easier.
What? Yeah, for the...
Make a living.
Yeah. The way that people make their living, right? Okay. So, like we said, Mrs. Hesper and I, Mrs. Rigg, Mr. Nate, our business is what? Education, right? Education. We're teaching. That's our business. That's what we're doing, right? Okay. That's the way we make our living. What's our focus question for this week? Anybody? Emma?
Geography.
That would be kind of our theme. Okay. That's our focus question.
How does geography shape our community?
How does geography shape our community? Or no, that's our theme. Our question, our focus question, how can we describe a community by its geography? How do we describe our community by its geography? Again, what have we done in our reading so far? We've talked about 4 different places. What were they, Eddie?
Desert.
Desert.
Mountain.
Mountains.
And coastline.
Coastline. Yep. Coastline.
And
We just got into this one yesterday. John? And prairies, yeah. Grasslands, all that could be kind of the same idea, right? Getting at the same thing, okay? So in that, we've been reading about what makes up those communities. What makes our community? Yesterday, what did we talk about? Asking, answering questions, right? Okay, so we got into that throughout that we asked all kinds of different, let's go back, sorry. Let's go back to what we read yesterday, I'm sorry, not page 152. Go back to page 146 to 151. Remember our questions we asked? We had some great, awesome questions. And we learned that we do that all the time without even, we do it all the time without even meaning to, right? We ask questions reading through our stuff without even realizing we're doing it. We ask questions, we find answers, we search for new answers. We talked about how even our reading leads us to new questions. By learning more, we have more questions to ask after that. Right, Hannah? Okay. So, did anybody, based off of what we read yesterday, did you find any new answers to any of your questions that you had when we hopped into our small groups? Does anybody have any of your questions that you picked out of here that were maybe answered or clarified a little bit based off of what you had gotten into in our small groups? Luke?
This is just one of the questions. Why did the Spanish want bison? Okay. I haven't got that clarified, but that's one of them.
Okay. These Europeans, right?
Yeah,
that was when they...
And why did the Spanish... I forget.
Yeah, that's... Again, I would love, and this, I'm just bringing this up again, I forgot to make the board, sorry, our little question board, but I would love for you to put that question up, and it is something that we have some time we'll get into and try to figure it out. We can talk about it and guess and hypothesize, make an educated guess of why that is, but we'll get into trying to actually find a good answer. John?
One of my questions was how do air turbines make electricity out of wind,
how do wind turbines? Okay. You know, I bet that is an answer that we could find quite easily if we just
What
Google it.
question?
So that's Johns, what was your question?
How do windmills make electricity out of wind?
I know.
Let's definitely look into that, because I think that's one we can get a pretty
Yeah.
solid answer on pretty quick. I think they've done a lot of good research to figure that out, so they'll probably be able to tell us quite easily why that is. Alright, so we looked yesterday at just all these awesome things that they are doing in different spots in the Plains communities. We have wind turbines, we have the water, or the trees that they have sitting in the water, and we said, why are they just sitting there? Why do they have those there? They were waiting to be moved. We talked about they may transport that using the energy of the water. The water is going to force them down, push them down. They'll get to where they need to go, or they may load them up on trucks and send them out. Okay, didn't ever say, right? There was some of those things we didn't have a full answer to maybe what we really wanted. And again, we can continue to, through our reading, ask good questions to get to new answers, to find new things out, things that we may have. We might find a whole new interest based off of our reading, right? Which is awesome. That's why our reading is so important. We're learning now what in our reading. We're learning. We're not just reading to read. We're learning by what we're reading. Okay? So that's the fun thing, is we're trying to get into the new things that are exciting and maybe some challenging things that'll grab our interests. Okay? So with that, I am going to read a little story. And Luke, will you hand these out to Dalton? You hand out half those. Remember we got into yesterday, what was our first thing that we talked about before asking questions? What was the very important thing that we had to, the questions that we needed to ask? Our base words, John.
You needed to look at the pictures.
Okay, what are the words? There's words that we want to use in the beginning of our questions, or in our questions, that are going to help us ask the correct question. They're all on that paper right there, 6 of them. John,
What?
what are our 6 words?
Who, when, why, what, where, how.
Yep. Who, what, when, where, why, how. Okay? Those will give us amazing opportunities to get into really interesting things in our reading. Who did what? Who was the main character? Who was this? Who was that? What did they do?
How old are they?
How old are they? How did they do what they did? All those things, okay? Those are questions that we can ask ourselves throughout. Alright, so I'm going to read this book, this story. It is called The Dog Who Cried Wolf. The Dog Who Cried Wolf. Why would he do that? What does that mean?
Can you write down?
No, not yet. We are going to get actual answers of why, what happened. Then, alright, Luke. Okay, so as we're going through this, I do not want you to fill it out yet. Do you have any answers? No. You may have questions. We don't have any good answers. Okay, as we go through here, I'm going to stop us, so you do not need to have a pencil in your hand. This crunch. You do not need a pencil yet. You will need a pencil when I tell you to get your pencil out. I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to randomly stop throughout here, so be paying attention. And we're going to hop into one of these topics and hop into. Okay? Yes, Ezekiel.
I haven't read the book, but I'm pretty sure I know what the lesson is. Because there's a lesson that goes with this, and can I take lesson?
Let's read this and then we'll see if you're right, okay? Yes, Luke. What? I think it'll be alright. Okay, this is, if I can get your eyes, please. It's hard to pay attention, remember? We're not looking at who is talking to us. This is The Dog Who Cried Wolf by, that's an interesting name. I'm going to give it my best shot. Keiko Kaza. That's what I'm going with.
Sounds like a Spanish name.
Maybe we'll see. Try to find out. I wonder where he is from. Or she. I don't know. Maybe we can look it up. Alright. Mocha was a good dog. He and Michelle loved to be together. Life was perfect until one day she read a book about wolves. Look, Mocha, she said. Michelle, you're kind of like a wolf. of like a wolf.
That's rude. No. Is that rude?
No, she's
I
just
can't
making an
even
observation.
think
Pencils down, please.
Ah,
Pencils in your hand. Get your on the table. Nick. Okay. A wolf was kind of, I mean, she's just making an observation that her dog, let's look at the picture. Does her dog kind of look like that wolf?
What? No, we're not related to wolves. A little bit.
A little bit.
So she's just making an observation. She's not.
I have no idea. I can't see.
Ran. Until finally, he reached a high mountaintop. "I'm free," he yelped. "Free as a wolf." So, well, yeah, he is simile, right? He is free as a wolf. Is he really as free as a wolf? Yeah. Alright, so what has happened so far? Oh, do you have that on your paper? Do you have a what on your paper? What has happened? What do we have so far? Write down what has happened. Through our reading, what has happened? What has happened? You can be, what we would say, vague in this so that we don't take up a whole lot of room, a whole lot of time. Or some quick bullet points of what's happened. And you may not all have the same thing, right? Because maybe you put what just happened. Maybe you put what happened the whole way through. Maybe you just put what happened at the beginning. What just happened is that Mocha, the who in our character, ran away. He's feeling free as a wolf now. It takes a while to train your dog to do the right thing.
Oh yeah, you got me so I'll do it.
Soon, Mocha got hungry. "No problem," he cried. "I'll hunt for my food just like the wolves do." And off he went.
It's a dog.
Does he see something that he's looking like he's wanting to hunt?
Bunny.
This is a question for us to think of. A little guess for you. You don't have to write something on paper. Do you think he's going to catch what he's hunting for? No? Don't say anything in your mind. Just think. Just think. But a rabbit outran him. A skunk sprayed him. A beetle pinched him. And even a field mouse made fun of him. See what field mouse did? Is he a good wolf?
Yes. No.
Not a very good wolf, is he? By nightfall, Mocha was miserable. He missed Michelle. "I even miss her tea parties," he mumbled. "But I can't give up yet. There's just one more thing that I have to try." Where has our character been? Who, what, when, where, why? Where on your paper has our character been? Where has our character been? You can be quick, 2 words. Hi, my name is Josh Griffiths, and I'm in the Fort Hays State Student Teaching Program at the moment for elementary education.
This is my second video reflection from my second lesson involving differentiated instruction. Throughout this lesson, the differentiated instruction that I used was that we, in groups, have differentiated reading based off of certain levels that these students have achieved from the beginning of the year until now. And this is about to change with our new 9 weeks, but at the moment they're in a certain group that they've been in since the beginning of the year based off of an assessment they took to place them in a certain area. I went off those groups in terms of some of the questions that I asked, some of the work that we did, the openness for their response through the reading that we did, the story that I had read to them. They were able to then reply and answer the questions based off of their ability. They could go as in-depth or as surface as they needed to in order to answer the questions of who, what, when, where, why, and how. Also in their small groups when we met together, again, we checked over these. It was time that we took to see what they had come up with to be able to share with their other teammates and partners in their groups. They were able to look and see what other students had come up with throughout the reading, and in their small group readers that they use as well, just using those 6 elements of reading. The whole group, in terms of doing that, there's specific students who are a lot higher. They are incredibly high for our grade, and there are a few that are incredibly low for our grade. And so with them, I expected to see very different answers compared to, say, the median of the class. And so for them to then be able to work in their small groups afterwards as we worked together when they visited with me, to be able to check through that and see new things through covering the story again was a very helpful thing for them. It was something to be able to pull out from other students and allow them to see that. I would say one of the challenges, and it's I think no matter how much time that I spend with my class, there's always just the challenge of reaching the highest students and the lowest students. It's kind of that thing of being able to meet the middle with so many students, but then challenging again the high students, really getting them what they need to be challenged beyond being able to answer the questions that seem to be a little easy for them, kind of basic, and then also at the same time being able to reach to the kids or the students who are very low and be able to help them get the understanding that they need based off of whatever the topic it is that we are studying. So that's probably the most difficult thing for me that I saw in this, to be able to really reach each section of students. Even when we got into our small group, there's so many differences in our small groups, to be able to pull out this one student who really struggles compared to the other low students in the group, the 1 or 2 that are even farther down than the kind of the median of that group. So just kind of trying to make sure that I'm hitting each student with what they need is probably the hardest thing, and trying to see on some days it's going to be different, and you're going to think that you've got something that'll really reach them, and it won't. And you'll have to, again, address that and change it up and really differentiate even in that, depending on the daily interaction with them and what they're feeling and thinking or going through or whatever, in order to help them the most. And I think I would just change, again, my focus on the individual students that really do struggle. I need to just be able to focus more on them in those times that I know that the other kids are going to get what they need to get out of that learning situation. So the kids that really are struggling, to really kind of be able to hit them with something very quick, and also the kids that are very high, be able to hit them with something very quick as well. So that is the change that I would make in that.